When we're out on the road operating the 765, there are a couple of common questions that we're always asked. One is, how much work do you do on the engine during the off-season? And the other one is, how long does it take to get up steam? The answers to both of these questions usually surprise people because there's a lot more to getting a steam locomotive ready for the road than just turning a key to start the engine. During the off-season, we're always busy with the engine, working long days virtually every weekend to get all the maintenance done that's required. There are certain Federal Railway Administration inspections that must be performed every year. Plus, there are always lots of things to do to the engine that are not part of a specific inspection, but are classified as repairs. Light repairs, sometimes called running repairs, are items that must be done but are not of a serious nature. For example, here Grant Geist is working on a plug sander. Cleaning the grease and dirt off the running gear is always a long and dirty job, but it must be done in order to carefully inspect the running gear for cracks and other defects. Tom Stevens is welding in a new steel stack liner, while John Snyder uses the acetylene torch to cut off some stubborn bolts on the headlight mounting bracket. Inside the firebox, some heavier repairs are being done. Tom is renewing some seal welds around the ends of the flues. Once all the repairs and inspections are completed, we're ready to fire up the engine. From a cold start, we could have steam up in 4 hours if we pushed it, but to heat the engine up that fast is hard on the boiler. If we were to fire up in 4 hours, hot spots would develop in the boiler because the heat is concentrated in the firebox area and doesn't have time to spread evenly to the rest of the boiler. This can set up tremendous mechanical stresses that can break stay bolts and cause other damage to the boiler. When we fire up the engine, we usually take a full 8 hours to bring the steam up, thus allowing the boiler to become heat-soaked slowly and letting the whole boiler heat up evenly. Even after steam is raised, there are still many things to do. Up on top of the engine, a new cab roof vent bracket is being welded into place. Bob Keller, who helped build the 765 when he worked for the Lima Locomotive Works in 1944, does some touch-up work on the engine lettering, while Rick Huth uses the spray gun to repaint the trailing truck. Rick's got several other areas that will need his attention before we hit the road. Painting the white edge on the running boards is the final step in getting all the new paint on the engine. When all is ready, she looks absolutely magnificent in her new coat of paint. You won't often see a steam engine this clean. Sometimes heavy repairs may be needed when out on the road. In 1984, after we arrived in Cincinnati for the NRHS convention, we discovered that a large bushing in the right side main rod had worked loose. In order to run our scheduled trips, the rod had to be removed and taken to a machine shop where a new bushing was made and pressed in. Then the crew had to reinstall the rod to complete the repair. This is heavy work, done out in the yard, not in a shop. But it comes with the territory when operating a mainline steam engine in the modern era. Out on the road with the engine, there are lots of things to do at the servicing stop. The air pumps are serviced by putting valve oil into the lubricator for the steam side of the pump and a special light synthetic oil into the air side of the pump. The Alemite gun is used to grease the side rod bearings. A very heavy grease is used on these pins. One session with the Alemite gun is good for about 120 miles before the pins must be greased again. Some portions of the valve gear use a soft grease, which is put in with a standard hand grease gun. The ashes that have accumulated in the ash pan are blown down into the center of the hopper that's between the tender truck axles. Later, the pan is flooded with water from the injector and the ash is thoroughly soaked. Then they're dumped by opening the ash pan door and allowing them to fall out the bottom. The tenders are filled with water and coal is loaded. The coal which we use in the engine must meet certain requirements. We try to get coal that has at least 12,000 BTUs of heat per pound, has less than 5% ash, and has a fusion temperature of over 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit. Coal that meets these specs burns hot with just a little smoke and does not build up heavy ash deposits in the firebox and will not clinker. There's nothing worse than trying to pull a train with bad coal that has no heat in it and tends to clinker badly. Bad coal can cause a lot of problems for the engine crew, especially the firemen. The next time you see an operating steam engine, whether it's a small engine like old number 3 here, or a big engine like 765 or 611, remember that it takes a lot of hard and dirty work behind the scenes to make that engine roadworthy. By the way, many of the scenes you've just seen, including this 611-765 doubleheader, are from the Hopewell Productions video entitled Life Begins at 40.